Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Mo Show Live. Really appreciate all the feedback that I've gotten from everybody for the last several months, getting a lot of encouragement in doing, and I apologize about any technical glitches and difficulties that we've had over various episodes, and I'll apologize in advance today if there's any technical issues today. I do not represent myself as to be a tech person. If there's hiccups or issues, I do apologize in advance, but today I'm so excited to have on today's guest. It's funny, we all have our morning routines or the way you wake up every day and do. And I can tell you that the way we wake up at my house is we get up, we get stirring, and the first thing we typically do after our feet hit the floor, and sometimes before our feet hit the floor, is we turn on WHNT News 19 here in Huntsville in the morning, and we're finding out what the headlines are. And probably more important than that, we're finding out whether I need a raincoat, do I need a jacket? My wife wants to know what she needs to put my son on for school that day, what she needs to wear. And so that's where today's guest comes in, and today's guest is Ben Smith with WHNT News 19 here in Huntsville. I'm excited to share Ben and talk to Ben about a little bit about his background, a little bit about the meteorology, what goes into that, and some other things, and talk a little bit about that. And I've gotten some questions from folks that maybe want to get some feedback from you, Ben, and be interested to see what we can have. But let me tell everybody who may not know a little bit about Ben, about his background. He's an Emmy Award-winning meteorologist with WHNT here in Huntsville. He's a graduate of East Carolina University. He's got a graduate of Mississippi State University, so I guess he's a pirate and a bulldog. And he's been in the television business over 21 years. He's worked in several markets. He's worked in Greenville, North Carolina. He's worked in Chattanooga. He's worked in Birmingham, Savannah, Orlando. And Ben said he's been here in the Huntsville market for a little over 7 years. He's also certified by the American Meteorological Society and the National Weather Association. So, Ben, it's really my honor. I really appreciate you taking time. I know you have been up since very early this morning, and now we're here at 3 Central Time. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here today. How are you doing?
Morris, I'm outstanding, and thank you so much for having me today. It's an absolute honor for you to invite me on this afternoon, and I'm having a ball. You have a wonderful office here. This is outstanding.
Well, thank you so much. I am really tickled. I mean that. I'm not putting on for you. Literally, how we start our day at the Lilienthal household is Ben Smith telling me what the weather's going to be and what's going on. And so really cool to have you here and to share you with our audience. So for people that don't know, just give us a little background of, what your position is at WHNT, what shift do you typically work, and that kind of thing. And, I kind of stolen some of that thunder, but tell us a little bit about that.
I do morning weather at WHNT. Also, during football season, I will do Pep Rally of the Week on Fridays. I'll go in and get the kids pumped up for their football game on Friday night, which is a ball. I mean, my ears come out ringing on some of those spirited schools on Friday. I also do tools for teachers during the school year. We reward teachers $319, and that's an absolute blast. That's my first year doing that, and this will be my second year coming up in the fall. And I do morning weather. I get up early. I mean, I get up before the early people get up. When I'm driving into work, I'm the only one on the road. I get up at 1 o'clock in the morning to be at work at 2 o'clock to go on the air at 4:30. There's about 2.5 hours of prep time there to get the forecast together, all the platforms, call WDRM, the radio station as well. So there's a lot that goes on. And just don't show up and just do the electrically. There's a lot of work that goes into it before then.
Yeah, well, that is early. I was sharing, folks, I was sharing with Ben that I'm an early bird. And then I thought when I said that, I'm not an early bird compared to Ben. I get up at 4:30, 4:15 every morning, but, you've already worked half a day by that time.
That's right. I mean, I basically work from about 2 to 10, 2 to 11. That's an 8 to 9 hour day for me. And, I'm done. I'm home in the afternoon to run errands and try to get things done. But, the flip side of that, I'm in the bed. I've been going to bed lately at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'm in the bed because I have to get back up at 1 o'clock. And especially in the summertime, it is really difficult to go to bed when the sun is out, but it has to be done.
Well, we really appreciate that. And I know a lot of times, like a lot of people in your industry and a lot of other folks at your station, when weather outbreaks, you're not bound by those times, and you may be there, a lot longer than that, and we certainly do appreciate that. But so, one of the things that's interesting to me, and is that, I just tune in, or I pull up the app, or I pull up a website and I get the forecast. But I'm sure, and this is a very complex question that I want to boil down to a 101.
Okay.
When you're putting together a forecast at 2 in the morning for 4:30, generally speaking, can you give us just a big picture, forest, not down to the trees, but a forest picture? What are you looking at? What are you pulling? What data are you looking at? What radar and weather maps are you looking at to kind of give everybody, hey, here's what the day is going to look like?
It's a great question. Usually when I come in, I have an idea of what's already going on, especially the day before. That definitely helps out what the high temperature was, what the low temperature was, cloud cover, rain chances, what's going on upstream definitely helps out. There's a lot of model data we look at, and a lot of times they're pretty consistent. Every now and then the timing is off, especially when it comes to rain. Some models want to bring in rain as early as, say, noon, and then there's some that may want to hold it off till 2 or 3 o'clock. And those are decisions we have to make, the severity too. Some models want to blow up storms. Other ones don't want to bring that much precipitation in. And, we coordinate with the National Weather Service. We have a great relationship with them. And you want to kind of put everything together and kind of come up with a forecast that we all agree on. Jason Stetson, Gabrielle Hugler, Jake Reed, and Christine Edwards were all one team, and we all coordinate together. Because when I come in, most of the forecast, especially the extended forecast, is already done. And I just kind of come in and tweak it a little bit in the morning. And, and Jason does a great job and giving me the tools I need to get my morning started fast. So I'm not, in a hurry and trying to get a bunch of things done because, we're on a time crunch. There's so many platforms to update, and calling the radio station. You can hear me on WDRM and WTAK if you're riding into work. That has to be done. Facebook, Twitter, everything's got to be done. Facebook Live. If there's severe weather, then it's all on, and it's a lot, and it's difficult whenever you're trying to forecast or try to predict the future. And we know this by just all those crazy football games. I mean, you're trying to predict what's going to happen, and most of the time we're right, but sometimes we're not, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah, and I bet that you hear a lot more about when you're wrong than when you do when you're right.
Well, even yesterday, I mean, we went with a 20%, 10% chance of rain, and if you look at the map, there wasn't a whole lot of rain yesterday, but there happened to be one thunderstorm that was over downtown Huntsville that dropped like 3/4 of an inch of rainfall. So what are you going to do? And that it happens sometimes, and especially in the summertime, it's so difficult to figure out where the heavy rain is going to be. And when I was in Orlando, you'd have both sea breezes coming in from the Atlantic and the Gulf, and then you'd have to figure out where they're going to meet in the middle. And you've got 1.5 million people that are from Daytona Beach down to through Sanford and downtown Orlando. So that was really difficult. So yeah, it was something.
Well, you guys do a great job of it, and it's like football predictions. They're if we knew every time we do, we might all make a trip out west to Nevada. But I think on the whole, everything, you guys are pretty spot on. And that's kind of where I wanted to head next. And that's something that I think maybe there's a misconception. And I thought maybe you could help kind of clarify this for all your viewers and people that are checking forecast. I mean, what we typically do is, I'm running out the door, or somebody's running out the door, they grab their turn on the news or turn on the radio, and they hear you and they say, there's a 40% chance of rain tomorrow. What does that mean? I mean, really, what does that mean? Does that mean, 40% of the area is going to get, in the coverage area is going to get rain? Or can you break that down? When you give a percentage of rain, what does that mean to the viewer in your audience? And
it's the area for one. You have your entire viewing audience, and we're thinking that 40% of that audience is going to get measurable precipitation. That's what we're thinking about. If it's 10%, it's 10%. The problem with percentages is, if it's like yesterday, if it's Madison County and it's pouring down rain, it's 100. It's 100%. If you think about it, at that very second. So that's all it is. It's measurable rainfall over a certain amount of area. So if it's 10%, there's a 10% chance that small portion of that area will get measurable rainfall.
So let me ask this to follow up on that. So when you guys are given those percentages, and your TV market is, as I understand it, basically North Alabama from the Shoals over, for people who are watching, maybe not necessarily from right in here, that's from the Mississippi line all the way to the Georgia line. Is that right?
That's correct. We go it's over 100 miles from Red Bay to Mentone, and then there are folks that can get us down in Coleman County up to southern Middle Tennessee. So, yeah, it's a large area, and when you're talking about the terrain as well, that's a big factor, especially when it comes to snow too. It's very, very difficult to forecast snow. I've seen it. I used to live up on Montesano, and I've seen 2 inches up there, and then you down to the TV station, which is down in the valley, they have a dusting or nothing. So it's difficult. Marshall County is even worse. Marshall County, wow, you can be up on Gunner, you can be in Grant at 1,300 feet, go down to Gunnersville at 400 feet, and then you go back up Sand Mountain to Albertville at 1,100 feet. And that's all within 10 miles. Right.
And so when you're given that percentage, if I understand you correctly, though, so when you're given that, you guys are given a percentage, you're saying that there's a 40% chance somewhere in that viewing market that's going to get measurable rain. That's not necessarily that, somebody in South Huntsville may not get any, but somebody up in the north part of the county or up in Harvest may get it.
Yeah, it's if I were to if I did a county by county forecast, even this morning I had 10%, I think, for Huntsville. I ain't looking at the radar before I tell you. But I think I maybe had a couple little cities that had perhaps a higher percentage than others. I know yesterday we had 10% for Huntsville, but it happened to rain in downtown Huntsville, but in Harvest and Tony it didn't rain. But there was also some rain over in DeKalb. There's some heavy rain in Coleman County, but in southern Middle Tennessee they didn't get a drop of rain yesterday. So it's just this time of year it's so hard because it's convective. And in the wintertime, it's more what we call a stratiform. It's even, and you just know it's going to rain. It's going to rain. You can just say it's 100% chance of rain. Very rarely do you have a 100% chance of rain in the summertime unless it's like a tropical storm.
And when people do, and I shared with you before we started today, I've been doing this the last couple of days. We're getting ready to take a trip down to the beach, and I'm sitting here checking the extended forecast. And we were doing this a couple of weeks ago. We were ready to have a little outdoor swim party at the house, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's a 60%. Ben says it, Jason says it's a 60% chance of rain, and we're freaking out. How accurate, with people looking at the 7 or 10 day forecast, how often do you think that those change as you get closer to 2 and 3 days out? How accurate do you think you can be, when you start getting more than 2 and 3 days out?
It's honestly, it's tough because systems can speed up, they can slow down. This time of year, you can probably just get away with a few thunderstorms. That's not going to change. That's not going to change too much. But when it comes to the wintertime, so much could happen. Systems speed up, slow down, cold air. Because people, the GFS has it snowing here next Tuesday, which is 7 days out. And then the next day, the model comes and it's gone. So we look for model consistency. If it's okay, well, if it has snow on Tuesday for next week, let's and then if it has it again, and then it has it again, and the models are consistent from run to run, And then we may say, hey, look, there's something we may need to keep a close watch on. We're kind of careful when we use the word snow because, it's one of those words that people get a little nervous about.
Yeah, well, people freak out. One, because we're in Alabama and nobody knows we don't see snow very often, and two, that everybody, I think people have a belief that maybe that the weather station, the meteorologists have an in with the bread company and with the local grocery stores because they go sell out of milk and bread just because they think there's going to snow. Is that true, Ben? Do you have a connection with the local grocery store?
I wish I did. I'd probably have a little bit extra money in my pocket, but no, I don't. I do not have any connection. But I've got some buddies in the grocery business, and I'll ask them. I was like, hey, so what's the deal with the bread and the milk? And they have told me, like, Ben, they bring X amount of gallons of milk into the store, and they said if we call for snow, they said they almost double their milking the cows a little bit more. I mean, they're pulling down on the mudders.
I don't know, man. I don't know why everybody wants a milk sandwich, but it seems that's the thing. We got to run out and get our milk and do. And I get it. Maybe sandwiches for bread and milk for little ones or for cereal or something, but it does. You see that and you run to the store and man, they're out of everything. And I don't know how it is up north where they're used to dealing with it, but for everybody that's watching that may not be from somewhere here like Alabama, man, we freak out when there's going to be a little weather, and then then you turn into other stuff where you got to cancel in businesses like we would at the office or my schools like where my wife does. It turns into a big deal.
Yeah, it's definitely regionally dependent. For us, winter storm warning is probably 2 inches of snow. You have to have a foot of snow to have a winter storm warning in Colorado. And a lot of the those places up north, they have the snow removal equipment. Down here we don't have it because we really don't need it. We have it, but we don't have it as some of those guys have tons and tons of sand and salt. There are campuses up north that have heated sidewalks, which is kind of cool. So you don't have to worry about ever getting out the shovel for the sidewalk because it's heated and it's automatically clear for the students and stuff. So I think that's kind of neat.
That is really cool. Well, along those lines, that was kind of something else, that we do deal with here a lot. It seems like, unfortunately, and that's where you guys really come into play, is tornado season. And, here in Alabama and in Mississippi and Georgia, we really see a lot of tornadoes, unfortunately. And that's where, we the viewing public rely on you guys to, give us information and feedback on what's going to be happening so we can stay safe and take, preparation measures. Kind of tell us, generally speaking, when is tornado season? When do you guys start seeing more tornadic activity? And what do you guys recommend for people, if you're in the path of a tornado, when you guys kind of go live with that kind of information, what is your protocol that you guys would recommend for safety?
Well, a tornado can happen any time of the year, but tornado season for us in Alabama is March, April, May, and then there's a secondary season in November. And we at WHNT, that's what we're here for. We are going to be there when the first storm gets there and when the last storm leaves. That is why we're here. We're going to be there. Obviously, tornadoes here are extremely serious. I found that out in a hurry. Give you an idea, I was supposed to start on May the 3rd of 2010. Well, as you recall, on April 25th of 2010, we had the Albertville and Geraldine tornadoes, EF3 and EF4, and I literally got thrown out there. I hadn't even memorized my counties yet. But I knew enough about weather and about debris and stuff like that at least I could talk about what we were looking at as far as debris. But obviously, we have the atmosphere conducive for tornadoes, and that's just the way of life here. I mean, the shear is there. The jet stream is real powerful across we call it Dixie Alley, North Alabama. And, we tell folks that you need to have multiple ways of getting the warning. Live Alert 19, outstanding app to have at WHNT. You haven't downloaded that. Go to your app store for that. You can set it to get lightning alerts, precipitation alerts, warnings and things like that, and it will go off. It will make a noise. A weather radio. You have to have a weather radio. It's designed to wake you up. Midland weather radio is the best one to have. It's black and white, and you can set it for your county. I always suggest people to get your county and the county west of you. If you're in Madison County, get Madison and get Limestone. If you're in Lawrence County, get Lawrence, get Franklin, and maybe even get Culver as well. So have multiple ways to get your warning. Don't rely on outdoor sirens. They're not there to warn you for you to hear them. They're for outdoor folks that are out playing golf or something like that. And, turn to WHNT, and we will take care of you from start to finish.
Well, I think, you shared a couple important points I really want to reiterate to people, and that is, now, thankful to the technology that we have, you guys in your industry now are able to give us much more accurate forecast and much more in-depth understanding of when there may be a tornadic or severe weather outbreak, not just minutes ahead, but hours and sometimes days ahead of when you think that the conditions are right. And so we should, be kind of generally monitoring the weather. And then when we know that those days are coming, you need to be prepared to have some way of getting notification. And the best thing, as you indicated, is having backup plans, because, we're dealing with important stuff here. We're dealing with people's lives and their children and things. So it's so important to make sure you've got that. And I just share with everybody here, I've got two. We've got the traditional weather radio at the house, which is loud and annoying, but it's great because it gets your attention. It really does. And
it's designed to wake you up in the middle of the night. And we tell folks that, hey, if there's severe weather coming, we're going to know well in advance. We're going to let you know. And if you live in a mobile home, they're great places to live. I've got a cousin in a mobile home. I got several friends that live in a mobile home. They're fine. But when it comes to severe weather, you need to be in another spot. Go to your friend's house, spend the night over there for one night. It's worth your life to do that. Unfortunately, those kids that got killed in Rosalie, it was a tornado watch. It was a watch up. They knew it was coming, and they were asleep in a mobile home, and the mobile home rolled over. And that was completely unnecessary. And we tell folks, just have another plan for one. It's one night, and you're worth it. Your kids are worth it.
That's right. And and something that you shared a few minutes ago that I wanted to reiterate that I need to do that I don't think we've done on our weather radio is we just have our county. And so we may want to go into the settings then and add the county just west of us, just so we know what's coming our way. And I assume that's why you're saying that. So we kind of have a little bit of extra lead time there to do. But the other thing I would tell people is, certainly I know Ben's biased to his Live Alert 19 app, and that's the app I have. But there are a lot of great weather apps out there. Check his out, check another one out. But what I like about it, folks, is that because I've got the GPS location on, it will give me alerts here at the office, which is 20 minutes from my house. If there's something going on here, you can easily click and set settings for certain areas or locations that aren't just, here in Huntsville. I've got the beach set in for our trip coming up. We've got other areas at the house. I've got the office. And so it's a really efficient way of staying in touch. And then the other important thing I think with that is that if there is an outbreak and you're out of power or you're out of television goes down, a lot of these apps, and I know your app does, Ben, your station's app, you can watch you guys live through the app if you guys are live during a severe storm outbreak, right?
That's correct. Live Alert 19, there's a video streaming section on there. And if you click that, you can watch our live coverage. You can watch our newscast. Even right now when you're away from your phone, it's right there. And it's, I don't know if you can, I can probably pull it up right here on my phone. I mean, we might as well, right?
Yeah, so, man, showed up. Yeah.
It looks just like that from your app store. That's what it's going to look like. Just put in WHNT, and there's all kinds of features on here. There's a little drop-down menu, and you can check you got your map. You have your daily forecast, the video streaming. it's all right there for you, and the 7-day forecast and stuff like that. And see, I have all kinds of locations on my phone. It says see current location, so no matter where I go, it will populate. I've got my brother, my mom, my dad, my sister on there, and you can set as many locations as you want. So something crazy, like I was just in Las Vegas, and I populated that, and it was 110 degrees every day when I was out there. So
well,
that worked out. So yeah.
Well, it's great, and whether certainly find something out there, folks, is the main thing, and have a fail-safe, have backups, and it's just a way to stay safe and stay alert and be on notice of what's coming, so you can know if you're certainly as you said, if you're in a mobile home and you know weather's coming, the safe thing to do is to go to somebody else's house or find a local shelter to go to. But if you're in a regular freestanding home, you need to know when to take cover, when to get in the basement or get in the hallway, and the weather radio and the app will tell you those kind of things.
That's right.
Well, one question that I've had on Facebook for us, it was something that I wanted to touch on, which was, how has technology changed? You've been doing this 20 plus years now. How, from when you started, as a baby meteorologist 20 years ago to now, how's that changed? And then I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how, social media and how that may play into it. But generally speaking, how has technology changed the way your job is every day?
It's almost laughable, Morris. I mean, I'll give you a funny story. We have everything now is just instant. I mean, it's almost old when you post something. Everything almost has to be live. Every 15 minutes, 20 minutes. What are the current conditions outside? Oh, it just went from mostly sunny to partly cloudy. Went from 95 to 94. Stuff like that. Back then, boy, to get a satellite image, we would have to call it in on a phone line and watch each image come down. And each image would take like 5 minutes. And then the next one would come down. It would take about 30 minutes to get a satellite loop, and you're hoping that one of those images wasn't a bad image. And not only that, back then you paid for long-distance phone calls. So you're paying, back then, how much was it? How much was it a minute? Do you remember?
Oh, man. It was expensive, yes. So
it was like $1 and something a minute. So
yeah.
For us to call in for a 6-hour satellite loop or whatever, it took 30 minutes. So it was like $30 for our phone bill to do that. Trying to put on you're basically guessing where the temperatures are. You don't have all these fancy weather stations and stuff. You're kind of guessing what's out there. I would come into work. You could come into work probably 30 minutes before you got on TV. Now, I wasn't back in the day where you're drawing stuff on the board. I'm not that old. But there wasn't a whole lot. Everything was wired. The clicker was wired, so I couldn't just be mic'd up. When I'd mic up, I have to stay mic'd up, and I mean you're carrying all kinds of stuff around. It's kind of like I would probably compare. Your cell phone now, how small it is. I would have it like one of them big phones or something like that. But yeah, it's something else. Plus the radar. No, there was no street level radar. You only had a regional radar. It was that old 88D radar back in 1988. That one. So you didn't have any street level stuff. Everything was from a distance, and it was definitely different.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you got more now on your phone. You could probably get more information from your phone now than you would have gotten 20 plus years ago with the radar and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, it was. We had we'll call it a live line 5. If my weather buddies are on here, they know exactly what I'm talking about. It was. The kids now, teenagers now, the millennials now, you all are extremely be very, very blessed what you have right now, because us Generation X's and Y's and baby boomers and stuff, we're we can tell you some stories.
Well, so, as you kind of alluded to, do you think that if you took an analysis of what your forecasts were 20 years ago and looked at them now, do you think, due to the technology, I would assume, and you know what that might get you, but you think you're much more accurate on your daily forecasts and much more accurate with predicting severe weather outbreaks and providing a true, better weather forecast and information to the viewer than you were 20 years ago?
No doubt about it, because we didn't have, there were barely even any computers, and everything was dial-up anyway, so there was no high-speed internet, and there were no there were some model data, but we couldn't, look as far as we'd like. We'd have basically the zone forecast from the Weather Service, and basically almost a rip and read. That's and you really can't deviate too much. You can't go off on this unbelievable tangent. You're just not going to do that.
Right.
And right now we have access to, there's so much stuff. There's just gobs and, there's just, you drive yourself batty trying to figure out, some of the stuff I learned in school. I can't go under, I can't start doing stuff on snow growth and the terminal velocity of a raindrop and things like that. We don't go into that kind of detail. We don't have time for it, but yeah, it's definitely changed. There was no internet, so you basically, you got your forecast done in 10 or 15 minutes and you were ready to go, and there were no platforms really to update either.
Well, and that leads me to another question that we've got here from one of our viewers on Facebook Live is how does social media, how has that played into how you interact with your viewers, how the station interacts with their viewers? And, as I mentioned to you before we came on air this morning, I got up and 4:15 so this morning, I pick up my phone, I'm flicking through Facebook, and I see you had just been live a few minutes earlier on Facebook Live, what we're doing now on the station's page, giving an update. Is that something you do routinely, and how do you interact with y'all's viewers and your audience? How does that change?
We're always want to give fresh, new information. If it's especially during severe weather, during an active weather day, we want to have the latest information, the most accurate information all the time. We want to take care of everyone from the Shoals to Sand Mountain to Lookout Mountain to southern Middle Tennessee. We are we're always there, but especially on severe weather days and there's any type of disruptive weather, we'll do even more updates, especially during the morning. If there's rain out there for the early morning commute, people want to know where the rain is, how hard it's raining, and we will make adjustments there. My producers are outstanding. They'll actually give me more weather time because weather is most important. It impacts everybody. If you're a human being, the weather is going to impact you. So, we definitely ramp things up when it comes to severe weather, and we definitely hit it hard. We always hit it hard with weather, but especially on disruptive weather days. And even this week, we'll probably have our first heat advisory coming up. 98 degrees, 105. So we'll talk about weather safety, heat tips. We'll remind viewers that, hey, don't go outside between noon and 6. Don't take the dog out at noon, between noon and 6. Check on the elderly, things like that.
Yeah, well, and I would imagine, like in a lot of fields, the social media aspect and platforms is a way for you to engage with various audiences from, different types of viewers, and a way to get, in some instances, maybe get feedback from them on stuff, but be able to share things with them. And we're a now society, and as you said a little earlier, people want information right now and do. And that's a one way for you to do that. And do you? When I interact with you, I was going to say, Ben, I'm sorry to interrupt. What I was going to say is when I interact, I see you, you seem to enjoy interacting with your followers on Twitter and Facebook and that kind of thing. And it seems something that you really enjoy as well.
I love doing that. And people don't realize that, when I'm on TV at the station, it's me and the camera. And then, of course, there's Steve and Michelle and the folks I work with, which I love to death. But, I don't get to talk to my viewers. And when I see them on Facebook Live or I see their profile pictures, they hey Ben and stuff. It's refreshing. It's refreshing that they take the time to take time out of their busy day to say hi to me. So I'm definitely one thing I definitely do when I do my Facebook Lives is I say hi to basically everybody on there who says hi back to me.
That's great.
I try to do that. I mean, it's about a relationship, and I want them to feel that they can trust me when it comes to the weather forecast, and I want them to, be there when there's severe weather, and that's important because folks they don't know, and the fact that they do is outstanding, and I appreciate it.
Well, and I think that speaks volumes to you and your station. But what I've learned in my 14 years in my profession, the legal profession, is a lot of times people hire me because they get to know me, or they get to know my firm, they get to like us, or they get recommended by someone, and they trust us. And I think that crosses over into your profession, that people get to know you through television and now get to know you maybe even more on a personal level on a social media platform, but they begin to like you, and then they begin to trust you when you start telling them about the weather and what they need to do to prepare for it.
That's right. Yes, sir. And Morris, you hit it on the head there too. We're in the same boat, and and once you get that relationship and you build that relationship and that trust is there, that's worth more money than gold and everything. So
yeah. Well, a couple last questions before we wrap up. Then I had another question from a viewer, and I thought this would be fun too. Is where did your passion for meteorology and the weather come from? Where did that come from?
I've always loved doing the weather. Even when I was in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, I was always watching the Weather Channel. And back then, the Weather Channel was not nearly as fancy as it is now. And I would do the weather on the announcements in high school. I would always, tell folks, hey, it's going to snow today. Ben, is it going to snow? We're going to get out of school. Because I went to high school in Virginia. So, we'd get 3 or 4 inches of snow. We'd be out of school up there. We did have snow removal equipment, but we weren't far enough north where it would snow and we would still have to go to school. So, it was always a passion of mine, and it's never changed, and it's been like that for forever and ever.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, the last thing I wanted to end on before we finished is I know after 20-plus years of doing TV, there's got to be an outtake or a blooper or some funny live TV moment that's happened to you, one or two that we can share on air, I guess, even though it was probably already on air. Is there something that sticks out in the last 20 years, a moment or two, whether it's here or at another station, that was just, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened, or you just lost it and you got tickled by something and you couldn't get it back under control for a minute?
Yeah, I've laughed so much on TV, and even working with Steve and Michelle. Steve cracks me up every morning. Even this morning, we had a funny moment. But I'd probably say, that clicker I have in my hand, I've dropped that many times. And I dropped it one day, and of course I'm stuck right there, and I got to pick up the clicker because my maps won't change. So I was just like, I'm sorry, everybody, but excuse me. And I just, right there on TV, I just bent down and picked it up. And I had my mentor, he was on TV one time, and he had his button just popped right off his jacket. And it was like right after Thanksgiving, and it made a noise too. You could see it, just his jacket just opened up. And he said he had too much turkey on Thanksgiving. But yeah, live TV, there's so many moments. I've almost fallen down before. It's live TV. There's some crazy moments. I rode a horse one time on TV. That was fun. I've ridden in a race car. I've met some pretty cool people. That's another thing too, Morris, about being on TV. You kind of get to meet some really famous people and get to kind of rub elbow. I've met a bunch of folks. I've met Eli Gold. I was about 2 feet from Nick Saban. I met Al Moore before he passed away. I just waved to him. He winked at me, shook his hand. I met Chris Johnson, used to play for the Tennessee Titans. I met Donnie Osmond.
That's awesome.
I've met Tommy Lasorda. I mean, these guys don't show up at TV stations and just show up. You just say hi to them.
That's cool. That's really cool. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time. And what I'd like to do is if you want to share, if people in our audience that are watching this live or that are maybe watching the replay later on, and again, folks, please like and share our Facebook video here so others can get more information about the weather safety tips we talked about and get a little more background. Maybe there's a student out there that's considering this field of endeavor and they've got might get a little bit more interest in what's going on in the field of meteorology and get to know Ben. But Ben, how can people connect with you on social media? What platforms are you on so people maybe can follow you or like your pages?
Sure. I'm on Twitter. My hashtag is BenSmith_WHNT. And if you go to Facebook, I'm Ben Smith WHNT on that. My Instagram is it's kind of long here, but it's WXMANBEN1231. So it's basically Weatherman Ben 1231. And WHNT.com at WHNT to follow us at the TV station as well. So I definitely appreciate you, Morris, having me on, and this has been a ball. This definitely made my day.
Well, thank you so much. I know it's almost bedtime now for you, and I will share under the video, everybody watching, your link to your Facebook page, link to WHNT, and that kind of information. So if people want to connect with you at the station and follow you, it'll be a little easier for them. But Ben, thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure I will see you, even though you won't see me, tomorrow morning. So thank you so much.
Sounds great.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That was awesome. That was outstanding.
That was fun, man. Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go back and watch it and all that.
Yeah, I'll shoot you
or whenever you get it done.
Yeah, it's on there now.
On my Facebook page. Tag you on notification. I'm welcome to share it like you were, and then I'll send you an email with the video, like a straight video if you want to get it, download it, or send it to anybody, whatever.
Thanks so much.
It's great to meet you. If we got with you around on this kind of stuff, I have here. I'm going to put the money that we keep again full purpose. That was I've been meaning to do